And that is exactly what they needed. They secure themselves at the very least that second overtime, and it's Mousesports now who have to come up big when it absolutely matters most.
Question is, OT2, or is Astralis picking this one up? That's really where we're headed right now. Can Mousesports force out another OT, or will Astralis finally put this one to rest? Give Oscar a pat on the back, but say, no, we still get this map. As Chris J is going to be out towards Big Garage. He has teammates aggressing here. Glaive has to be careful as Blaze is on the edge of the smoke. Open around to Dennis. He is just going to fall back safely now. As Astralis will have that one-man advantage. Oscar's playing for Mini. He needs some help shortly as well. Just going to hold towards Hut. Looks like Astralis is getting ready to put this one to bed.
Yeah, Lowell, though, catches bomb. So that's a lot of information gained and the 4v4. Device removed as well, one of the heavy hitters for Astralis. Chris J is going to take the op and try to get to ramp in time, and he hits Dupree as well. Once more, his side is turned. We've seen those picks on multiple occasions now, and it's going to happen in what is arguably the most important round. Mousesports still with a chance, as Kierby will remove another, but he's down to a quarter of his health as well. Minute on the clock still to play off of. These are the kinds of situations that just go back and forth yet once more, and it's going to be Mousesports with a small edge with this one.
45 seconds. Glaive's going to jump down ramp, has a molly. That's all Astralis have to work with. Zipness is going to go meet up with him. Glaive's going to be the first one down. 35 seconds. Oscar's in the money spot, though. He sits here, waits out for the plant to get for the bomb to start to go down, and Oscar can single-handedly end this round, as he is going to push in towards control, won't spot anybody, but Astralis have fallen silent until just there as Oscar will hear him fall, and now this is kind of just this play. This is the play, but they plant. Look at the safe plant. Such heads up plant.
It's a perfect way to circumvent Oscar's position, right? You know there's a man over towards control, or at least you assume so. You take the rafter and fall in, and now both of your players are committed to the same after plant spot. So this is a really good chance for them to just trade frags out, or even allow Zipex to get behind enemy lines. He's spotted those, so now they know. And he tries to re-engage. Glaive's just attempting to hold off on the bomb, but now they're pinched both sides. It's Zipex to find another. Glaive still looking for an angle as the gun duels ensue. It's Oscar to come up with the next. He goes for the reload, taps the door once, and he sprays one, but he doesn't take the second, and Mousesports will bring this into double OT.
Unreal. Both of these teams are just going tooth and nail, back and forth. Another OT. Glaive almost had it. You saw the reload, there was 7 bullets. That's a couple more seconds off the defuse. Then the spray comes through.
Look at this.
This is unreal. And Oscar playing with a door actually probably saved the round there. There was a hole for Glaive. With the door was just enough to eat enough bullets. Chris J lives on 69, and that's what pushes us to OT number 2. And it just goes to show how dynamic these teams are and how going back and forth they are. The openers aside, these dudes are just going tooth and nail. They're just playing it out.
Kierby tries to pick up the pace, and Zipnex is there to trade. Dennis does the same as he finds Dupree. Zip still up close and personal, as is Dennis, spraying down 2 and taking it all just down to Glaive. That aggression not paying out. Astralis try to pull a Mousesports, and in this case it costs them. So the CTs will find that opening round.
Quick play from Astralis, and Mousesports just swat it down. That's not much you can really read into that one. Just Astralis trying to switch it up, go for something quick. Something different than their wall of smoke, something different than their default holding lobby, keeping pressure towards ramp. Which has been a focal point. Ramp is interesting. This entire match has been a focal point, but later in the round. You've never really seen an early push towards ramp like a quick play. It's been throw a smoke towards there, wait it out. Halfway through the rounds, if your default don't get anything, send a couple players ramp, but always keep outer pressure, and that's what Astralis have been doing. As again, the wall of smokes will come out. Astralis is going to try to fight behind them. As most sports have been put in a situation where the wall of smokes have been deployed, countless times have they been forced into playing around it.
They're going to go for that walk down secret yet again here, so Astralis not giving up information. Again, you can use that wall of smokes and then keep everybody over towards lobby, and the CTs will be none the wiser. That's the beauty of that wall of smokes if you don't combine it with flashbangs and gunfire and whatnot. So Rops is going to feel the heat down towards control, and he's the first to fall in this round as now Astralis explode towards the B site. They're waiting, though. They want to catch the man rotating through vent, and they do. Kierby pops Dennis, and a 5-on-3 ensues. Chris J, though, with a bit of a response, and Device does the same, so it's just down to Lowell. He, too, toppled, as Astralis will tie it up.
Yeah, Astralis did a great job there of not only getting the opener to the site, Rops, and then just immediately continuing to just push into the site. They also cut the rotations off at the knee, putting pressure towards vents, putting pressure towards ramp, Mousesports had no chance to get back even close to the site. They were dying in vents before even taking any engagements with the players in post plants in the site. They had to deal with the players cutting off rotations first, and that just didn't pan out. Astralis doing a lovely job there, 19-19, as the double up actually comes out from Mousesports here. So expensive, a little irrelevant right now, but it's a switch up that we haven't seen since regular time, I imagine.
DEIXE is trying to find that op duel in the outer yard, but he finds nothing of the sorts for the time being. Dennis going to set the flashbang, and we've seen a lot of nice little team flashes happening on that outer yard. It's so crucial of a portion of the map, and it's going to be Oscar up close with the duel. The no-scope connects, and he's going to get another chance, but no. Glaive sprays him through the edge of the wall, and the trade frag goes the way of Astralis. Still, they continue towards the site, and the rotations come down. This time, nobody inside of the vents. Instead, the emphasis on ramp. Dupree with a Molotov is going to burn off one section of that, and it keeps Rops on one side of this double peak door. The smoke blocks off that option from him, and still so much time for Astralis. These are the moments I love to watch this team, right? Look how they just come back in towards upper. They're just going to transition away and allow for Zipnix to find another frag on A. Mousesports never see it coming.
That's what you love to see as an Astralis fan. They fight for control early, then the mid-round calls are so good where they can transition to anywhere else across the map and catch you off guard. As Rops will find Dupree. I don't think anyone else is going to push down that vent. They're just going to sit and wait. As they do have a molly, 2 mollies and a nade to work with as Mousesports, as Chris J opens it up there from lobby. Zipness is posted towards heaven while Glaive is going to get himself to hut. And the bomb is taking away Mousesports. This is doable. But look at Glaive's position. He spots player to mini, but Rops wins it. Zipnix 1v3, and he can only get one as Mousesports will get this last round of the first half, second OT. Becoming a mouthful, slowly but surely.
So they're getting it there, right? They've got that lifeline now for Mousesports, but I think that was a great example of how Astralis are such a difficult team to read. If we go back to regulation time, we really saw them exploiting that wall of smokes on the outer yard, but they'd always have a slight variation on what they do. They had the opportunity to just walk down secret, then we'd see them just shift through the smoke and hit up into mini, and in overtime in these last 2 rounds, well, we see that taking of the secret, and in the previous round, they get caught out rotating to B. That was the issue for Mousesports. So this time, they hesitate with that rotation. And what do Astralis do? They use that opportunity to go back towards A and catch Mousesports with their pants down. So now it's on the Mousesports side to come up with some rounds here, as it is going to be Astralis with a 1-round deficit.
1-round deficit. Oscar's looking for the opener, so typical smokes now, I think we can call them. Pretty much the default smokes thrown at this point is Glaive. Going to start it off well for Astralis. Able to find Dennis as he's going to fall back towards the box. This catwalk smoke, keeping it a little safe for now until he walks through it. Not much a smoke can do when you end up going through it. Zipnix is going to hold here. Shots come his way. Rops will actually take him down through the smoke. That's a huge kill now. To bring it back to just a 1-man deficit as he loses 2 teammates towards outer, feels obligated to find a trade frag, and will do so just immediately.
Chris J's just trying to be lurking around these yards, and that's what Glaive was doing as well, right, when he repositions behind the blue box. But Chris J's up on top of the first roof, and he's making a lot of noise. So Glaive, doesn't hear it. Wow. And it's a 1-tap execution from Chris J, traded back by Dupree as he finds Rob. Still, Chris keeps going. He hits Kierby at the top of the ladder, and suddenly they can split this A site, but the man rounds the corner, and Dupree takes him down. It's all onto Oscar to clutch, and he's found the first. Up close and personal was DEIXE, but Dupree has had enough, and he hits the headshot as Oscar falls. Tied game once more.
Huge 3K from Dupree, locking it down inside. Not only did he shut down Chris J, then a great timing on the peak from Dupree to get himself the third. 2020 is this game stays close, stays competitive, and it stays exciting too. It's like both teams like switching up their default, switching up quick plays, and this is the first time we're going to see almost kind of like a quick push play from the T side, from any team side towards ramp. As it looks like Chris J is just going to pump the brakes a little bit, try to find the entry. Zipnix just tapped away from Chris J. An entry from him. He's just been the man of many talents so far. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be another great little highlight for him on the rifling role, right? He's given up that primary op to Oscar, and DEIXE with an op of his own. Near takes a second till Oscar himself responds back. So Mousesports continue with that man advantage. The rest of the team joining forces from ramp. They want to flood into the B-bomb site and find this plant before Astralis arrive. But there's already a man over here towards Decon, and that's Dupree with 11 HP. Not much to work with, as now the bomb's gone down. Retake. Molly smoke, double nade. There's the last flashbang. He's going to send Kierby towards control. Glass hit's broken, man advantage for Mouse. Glaive get him all in dark. Peek. Able to find Rops, but it's still looking good for Mousesports. So the bomb ticks away. Dennis will strike from Toxic. Immediately traded from Dupree, who's not expecting a second player towards ramp. Now it is all Dupree. 11 HP, and he will go down. Mousesports continuing to push the envelope just a little further and further. And now Astralis' buy is going to include a UMP. Now, of course, if anyone can do it, it is Astralis.
Yeah.
So granted, this buy is still dangerous in the hands of Astralis. But Mousesports now, I think they're feeling comfortable. Look for the outer smokes again, knowing that Astralis' economy is going to be hurt into this possibly last round.
Yep. This is Astralis having to show up when it matters most. Mousesports look as though they want to get aggressive. Oscar's going to try for that peak we saw from DEIXE, but he finds nobody on the receiving end of affairs. Instead of, there's a frag grenade. It's going to chip him down to 60 points of health. The entirety of Mousesports disengage from A, and they're going to weigh their options elsewhere.
Yeah, look at DEIXE just waiting, hoping someone peeks. Does he have behind the bomb as well from there, or was that through the wall? So he will find Oscar, though. So they jump across, try to bait it out, and try to get the opener instead. DEIXE isn't taking the bait whatsoever. He just finds the player who wants to peek him, opening for him at Astralis. And of course it's DEIXE to get it done for the op. And now Mousesports are put in this awkward spot where do we fall back? We put a lot of pressure on ramp. We don't have much map control. What's Astralis up to? And it looks like they're going to go ahead, throw the top red smokes, throw the outer smokes, which has pretty much been a bread and butter for both these teams.
Yeah, there's nobody going to be ever so close to this, though, from Astralis. They're going to have the eyes on from Glaive, but seeing as he does just have the ump, what's he going to do about it?
Yeah.
He's going to try to get closer to this and join forces with the man inside of Secret, but this is when Rops decides to open up shop inside of A. He blasts Kierby away, and Astralis with 2 responded from Dennis with 2 of his own. Oh, again, these rounds just back and forth, ever so close as Zipnex goes for the reload, re-peeks to his demise, Dennis with another, and it's just down to DEIXE, but he too answers with the 5-7 and the op in hand, fully blind but no push, and he's going to try to get close.
No kit. Time's taken away. Dennis has to get a 4K to end this for Mousesports. DEIXE is playing on the edge of the smoke, will upgrade to an M4, picks up a kit in the meantime, keep that in mind, taps the bomb, seeing if Dennis will peek. Is timing going to work out here for DEIXE? Dennis, lovely shoulder peek, and this may just get it done. He's toying with his food, as Dennis will do it. DEIXE has to push him, and this may just be all she wrote, as Dennis has played this perfectly to a T. And I don't think there's enough time. I think that's it.
GG. Mousesports gonna somehow walk away with an upset on Nuke. Who would have thought?
I did.
I was gonna say.
I'm just gonna toot my horn. I did. I took a shot in the dark and trusted my boys.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
What a game. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous how long this took for them to eventually close it out. What a grind for both teams. And this is one of the things too, you know, usually when you're looking at Astralis, you expect that they're a team that in these situations where they just have to grind out those rounds, that they're able to do it. They're able to maintain their composure. They're able to make sure that they can allow their fundamentals to speak for themselves, and eventually they usually actually manage to come out ahead here. But Mousesports really showing a lot of composure, a lot of mental constitution to be able to make it happen themselves. So impressive result from Mousesports, and this surely is only going to set them up quite well going into what is their map, Mirage, which will be next. And that's the Mousesports go-to, along with Dust 2, but obviously Dust 2 is no longer in the pool at the moment, so Mirage is the one for them.
Mirage is the one, and you have to feel even more confident going into that, right? And I touched on it a little bit in game, and I think it's a cool point to maybe bring up is the amount of times we saw the smokes thrown towards outside. It's almost more of like just a default now, almost for every team, because you gain outside control, it nets you more than just outside. You can push Big Garage, you can push Hell, you can push CT, Mini becomes an option, Secret becomes an option. Even you touched on it, of how many options you get when you get the outside yard. And even when they wouldn't go for the full smokes, Dennis, notably from Mousesports, would throw that top red box smoke just to keep the presence, just to keep Astralis honest towards outside. So I think we're seeing some more play towards outer, and that's just going to open up the map. Similar to Mirage, where you keep the top mid smoke just for pressure and presence. But I think Mousesports have to be feeling extremely comfortable and really pleased with that outcome. For sure.
I have to say, like, just to add to that point quickly, one thing that Yanka mentioned yesterday, which is absolutely spot on, which sometimes is overlooked, is also just how you sort of have to do it so you force the CTs to actually rotate that one player down lower, which is, if you want to go ramp or if you want to go upper later, it just makes your life so much easier. So it's good to see that development. I wonder if, you know, how the meta game will develop if there's more aggression outside to be the average, but that's Nuke done and dusted. Squanny, what are we looking at for a Mirage? Are we expecting Mousesports to win this? Are you going to change the tune? I mean, we called it for Astralis, but...
I mean, I don't know if you can, right? It's still Astralis. They should still be putting up these wins. It's impressive for Mousesports regardless, right? I don't want to take anything away from that victory. But it was definitely a slugfest, which I'm not sure if they can replicate a second time, right? Every clutch that ended up going their way, every time Oscar wins a 1 versus 2, will that reflect through on Mirage? The odds of it happening are higher than on Nuke, I would have argued, before this series started. But this is going to be a more comfortable map for Mousesports to work with. So I'd love to see what happens now with Oscar being able to still opt from inside of window if he so chooses, to see if they're able to set up those
in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for
set their sights towards the A-bomb site.
Pretty heavily committed, as they're going to send 3 players out top mid, so you can see a connector A split. As DEIXE may be able to just shut this down single-handedly. He's got 2, as he's going to be searching for the 3rd, but feels safe enough to fall back. Will re-peek it, as he will finally get shut down from Oscar, but he's done enough to just pretty much shut down the round. Astralis know what's happening. They know where the bomb's been planted, as Mousesports now just left with Chris J and Lowell to try to get in post plants and take care of the CT aggression.
Yeah, if Glaive goes down here, then CT could have been taken, but the terrorists were stuck within the site itself, and it's there that Kierby takes the final frag. So Astralis winning themselves a pistol round. That's the first of 3 we've seen today, and it's nice to get them started off on that front foot for the CT side. So it's where they want it to be, and a clean one at that. I mean, you see that duel from DEIXE at the beginning, right inside of middle. Very convincing pistol play from him, and Mousesports, I'd say they're still happy to walk away with a plant at that point.
Yeah, they're pretty content with it. I like the play from Mousesports, though. They send the 2 players with utility towards a ramp. They do the smokes. They smoke actually stairs and connector. So those players are tasked to run down connector, get in jungle room, and then help push CT. It will fall apart thanks to DEIXE positioning. And now Astralis went up. Rifles, UMPs, the typical. And Mousesports pretty much going for a full save with just P250s. They will finally take care of DEIXE. That's the M4 down. Look for one of the UMPs, make the jump and clean it up. This nade will do significant damage to Lowell. Down to 42. He is a bit lower. Yeah. And finally, the nade will clean him.
He's done for. Astralis with a very clean conversion there. And they don't actually grab DEIXE's M4, interestingly
The little
enough.
things, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Glaive keeps the ump. That A1S left behind. And so Astralis will still be fine. They've got everything they could ask for, but so do Mousesports, thanks to that round 1 bomb plant.
Yeah, Oscar's going to throw the top mid smoke. Looking a lot like a default setup for Mousesports. 1 guy towards B, 1 player top mid. Bomb will get locked top mid. They'll kind of just do a little bit of engagement with a couple shots. Kierby, though, the linchpin, playing Cubby. Will this get cleared? Chris J will come out on top. Well, Dennis, in the meantime, finds Dupree. So 2 openers cleanly for Mousesports as Chris J has not stopped moving and grooving. As he's just going to run up towards connector, will finally get caught. And a molly from Glaive to keep his teammate at bay. And Astralis will answer back promptly. But Mousesports, a quick play. Default turned into a quick play just based on Astralis.
Yep, Glaive taking a duel, though, trades it back. Oscar with a headshot found. So it's Lowell and Oscar, DEIXE and ZipX. And everybody's set to take A. Oscar starts to plant the bomb, standard spot, nice and safe as the CTs come through spawn. But there's the kill they needed. Oscar popping the head of DEIXE, leaves it just down to ZipX. Again, fantastic clutcher, but he's currently smoked off. He uses his own smoke and a pop flash to follow, tries to go for the spam, but no damage done as he starts to close the distance. We've got one man standing up in the open, and that's Oscar down. Near flicks over, but Lowell finds the opportunity to trade and does so cleanly. Mousesports respond back early.
Good play from Mousesports. I mean, the whole play there was we want to work a default 2 players A, 2 players top mid. We'll have one guy kind of spotting B. Then all of a sudden, Chris J just, as soon as the top mid smoke bloomed, they got a player out top mid. Chris J went for the underpass push. And Astralis' positioning, it's interesting how a CT position, it can change a T default into a T execution. So getting the 2 openers really made Mousesports not want to stop moving. They got the openers with their default, and they kind of ran with it. As Chris J is going to push here towards B, Zipex is just going to sit here. And he has a pop flash, going to flash through info. And it looks like Mousesports are content to just fall back right off the get-go as Dupree is going to be playing with him here early. So 2 towards B, 1 player connector. So it's kind of A-heavy from Astralis. These B players can use their utility, though, and it comes at a good time.
Yeah, Zipex up close on the other side of the smoke, tries to spray frantically, but he hasn't done enough damage here, and he's caught mid-jump. Able to take 1 frag, but it's Dupree from the van to respond with one of his own. Still targets flood on in. Dennis able to trade it back, but it's still a man advantage for Astralis, and Kierby has just snuck his way around that smoke. Dennis still standing here as Rops has fallen down, and he's got the chance to clutch in a 1 versus 2.
14 HP. Galavin's going to shut him down. Astralis get a 3rd. Mousesports. Entries from Dennis. Lowell helps out there. They get to the site, get the plant. But it was really pretty much just cut and dry from Astralis when it came to the retake. Nothing too crazy. Had utility, had the numbers, had positioning. Astralis get a 3rd. Mousesports. A little bit of a misstep from Zipex there towards window, where he fully committed that player in the corner, knowing there was more, but he really wanted to get that kill and get out of there.
Yeah, and then he tries to jump out the window, but comes a little short, so he's just kind of hopping and caught out there. Luckily, he still gets one frag, right? Because it is just trading back and forth and Astralis maintaining the man advantage. Really came down to Kierby being able to sneak around from the bench. And while he could have taken out the bomb carrier, he opts instead to remove the man from apartments and then try to deal with the second. So, nice play. Keeps Astralis in the lead and also resets Mousesports. Exactly what they wanted to avoid. But they have enough money here to maybe justify a quasi. Seems as though it's a technical pause for Zipnix's lag. That's why he missed the jump.
Good old networked. Yeah, pings. Yeah, I'd blame the ping. Why not, man? Yeah. I misstepped. So we'll see what Mousesports do on invest here. It's round 5. They could justify some. I mean, you're on $1,400. You did just get the bomb planted. You can get a full buy next round if you don't invest too much. So I think that may be the call. Especially considering Rob's on 3,400. 1,900 plus bomb plant money. Yeah, you know, he could sit. They could just go for P250s. But if they wanted to, they could fully commit into this buy. I guess it depends on the day for Mousesports. They forced a little bit going back on Nuke on the CT side. They made some interesting decisions on buys there. So we'll see if that carries over here on the T side of Mirage. I think it is just going to be maybe a couple P250s. A little bit to work with, but I don't think they'll go too far in.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think force buying and odd decision making is something that most sports have gradually been working away from, right? They've been very kind of emergent in form. They're currently sitting 5th in the standings for ECS, 1 position short of qualifying for the LAN finals. Astralis, number 1, could possibly be losing 2 maps right now, right? So that's kind of one of the most exciting things about today's games is that, again, we have 4 teams who are within top 5, and the 5th place team just kind of knocked down 1st place, knocked them down a peg. So it's very in the open. It's very back and forth, and especially considering that Astralis, I believe, have the most games played. FaZe, who is currently in 3rd place, only has 8 in comparison to their now 13. So there's a lot of room still for the standings to shift, and that makes this all the more exciting.
Just gonna wait for that ping. It looks like it's determined to stick around 70. Determined little ping. We should see it fall as we continue to wait for that. So it's up 3-1. They're gonna have rifles, everything they need here into this round. Mousesports. The pistol round was close. Shut down from DEIXE to kind of give a recap. The following round was pretty much just a save for Mousesports, run out of sight, slaughtered. But it was interesting, the first rifle round, Mousesports, it worked out beautifully for them. They just wanted to work a default. Astralis sent a player towards underpass. They tried to challenge top mid. Next thing you know, Mousesports gets 2 openers, but Astralis being Astralis, immediately just kind of shift their weight around. They do end up winning the round as Mousesports, keeping Lowell alive, and now Astralis going to the next one, and well, history is history, and here we are on the B retake, 3-1.
Yeah, that B site retake as well, keeping 2 players up, puts Astralis in a good spot cash-wise. I
Yeah.
mean, you can see 2 guys forcing all the way down. DEIXE and Dupree have expended that money, so it's really just Zipex who's their bank. The man we wait for himself to come back into this one.
I think we're good. I think we're getting there.
We always do. We'll always get there in the end.
It's true.
I mean, think about our first map, right? That was a 2-hour barn burner.
It's a good game, though.
Yep, it was a great game.
Super good game.
I think it's exciting to see Mousesports just take a map off of Astralis in general, let alone
Yeah.
on top of Nuke, right? Like that's a map where you can fall apart if you don't have the proper trade fragging. And there's so many rounds that I can still think of where Mousesports were always able to respond back with a trade frag, almost as effectively as Astralis were.
Yeah.
And you know that's putting them on even level when in comparison they shouldn't be whatsoever, right? This is Astralis, the revered Astralis.
And
now struggling.
it didn't really matter on Mousesports. He was that kind of 3rd or 2nd man in. They got the trade frags like almost immediately, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like no matter who it was, everyone was just having a hell of a game. Of course, we talked about Oscar, but his teammates really did turn up near the later parts of the Nuke map, which is what pushed them to the end. Is those snappy, quick refrags, the smart mid-round decisions with what utility they want to use when where. And it kind of just snowballed into that W for them as we're waiting on
I mean,
this one.
thank goodness as well that he has his teammates to come to life there, right? Because, I mean, if you look at Oscar after the end of the first half, I believe he's sitting something along the lines of like 23 and 10. He was already low 20s for kills at the end of the first half. Now they switch over to T side where they find more success, and he finishes regulation at 15-15 with only 29 frags. So while he had that fantastic first half that really kept Mousesports in the game, if it wasn't for him, who knows how few rounds they would have actually got on CT side. It is in the second half that everybody comes to life. They emerge from being double digits, and thankfully for that, they get themselves a win.
So guys, we're having a lovely, lovely time so far today. Your inaugural cast in the studio, and we've had some technical issues. It happens. It happens. It's a super week, so we get super delays. You know, that's how it works. Everything is exemplified, is exaggerated, is magnified. Perhaps maybe that's one way to look at it. But yeah, it's one interesting thing is that so far in this game, there's a lot to speculate upon because we haven't had that many rounds, right? So it's like quite difficult to really sink our teeth into the analysis. So I think it's actually quite a good opportunity to, again, for those people that weren't tuned in earlier and are wondering who you guys are. Obviously, these are the community cast. I would say champions, because you guys won. So that makes you champions in my book. And getting your first experience in the studio. How's it so far? Minus the delays and so on. How's it? How's the vibe? How's the atmosphere? How's the ambience?
I think there's nothing greater than studio / arena broadcasts in comparison to what, like, I'd say guys of our caliber are used to, right? Online casting's fine and dandy, but it's more of a secluded environment. You're within your own comfort zone. You're not actually what feels like in a day of work.
Yeah.
So that's to me kind of like the nicest fact of all this is it just has that professional feel to it. Makes you feel good.
Nothing like feeling good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You go from focusing in the game in your room, and you don't realize the amount of people that are watching or like the tension in the game. Like you can get fully committed to a cast, but it doesn't really hit you until you're like, wow, yeah, no, this is a sick game. But with the studio setting, it really amplifies the feeling of good games and good matches and intensity and falling back to like more points to talk about. There are 3 buds on chairs, it kind of just it amplifies that feeling where in my room, I was there, but it's kind of like you don't realize the impact until you after the match kind of thing. Yeah.
It's also incredibly nice to be casting
Yes.
professional Counter-Strike.
There we go.
Yeah.
Most notably, that's
a
it.
good
It's
point.
the quality of CS that really
Yeah.
makes this feel so good.
Yeah, I mean, you can sort of, I guess, beat around the bush a little bit, but in reality, like there is a really big difference.
Yeah.
And you can make it sound nice and fluff it up a bit, but sometimes the lesser tier Counter-Strike, it can be frustrating at times if you see teams throwing advantages away, and you can even see that at the very top level too. I mean, again, Mousesports. I think we're in the car over. I was saying to you guys that the old Mousesports was, I think, for me, the most frustrating team to watch in Europe. Back in the days when they had Nico, and also maybe when Nex was in the lineup as well. and things they just couldn't quite get the leadership. It was just throwing away advantages. They had loads of skills, so they'll win rounds. It's like, okay, great, they've won a round again. They have an advantage, and they can't play out the advantage. It's like, oh god, guys, this is basics. Yes, you guys are professionals. What's going on here? But I think the level overall is generally improving, also in the tier 2, and I think obviously that's. We see with NIP, that's one of the arguments that's floating around out there is that, okay, they've dropped off a little bit, but at the same time, the overall level of competition has risen. So it's much harder for them to just dominate with individual skill. You can no longer just get by with individual skill in this day and age. So it's quite the evolution. And speaking of which, what made you guys decide to get into casting? What was the thought that got you into it all?
I guess I'll go first here. I started managing an IM team back in the day. Actually, I managed Caboose's team. That's going back to season 18, 19. Didn't really play. I played, but I was more on the managing side, and I wanted to stream my team's games, and I started to stream it. Then I realized dead air doesn't really work well when it comes to Counter-Strike. There needs to be narration. There needs to be a storyline. Even if it is just IM and open, there's still something to talk about, still something that needs to be said. So I started just casting the matches, going forth. So I did 2 full seasons just on my own. I am in main, playoffs, et cetera. Kind of transitioned into the Community Caster Challenge Season 1. That picked up, started doing more online stuff, Fragadelphia, eFrag, et cetera. And then you just get the love for it. You get the itch. Like, it's one thing to watch Counter-Strike, but it's another thing to cast it. And you get the itch, kind of like the itch to play, but I get the itch to cast, and you just get so into it. So.
How about you, Scrawny? What was the? I guess you kind of. I guess everyone saw your story, right? It just kind of developed. It just came out of nowhere. Was that the? Was it as everyone saw? It just happened. Like there was a clip that came onto Reddit, and you're like, "Whoa, maybe I should try this," or is there more behind that story?
I mean, I'd been doing the content of that video, right? The casting of an ESC knife round. I'd been doing things like that while me and my friends are playing since as long as I've been playing CS, right? Because it all starts with just being enveloped with competitive Counter-Strike. And I have just this like insane respect for casters because I think that when you look at esports as now just like a growing industry, right? People are introduced first and foremost to the voices on the screen, right? Not as many people in society understand what Counter-Strike is or how Counter-Strike works or whatever not.
We might have to get back to this, Corey.
All right,
I'm so
that's
sorry
fine.
to cut you off,
That's
but
fine.
The Counter-Strike has commenced. All right, I guess I'll. You know what? I'm gonna jump in for a round. Oh, okay, maybe I'm not. Denied. Completely, absolutely taken down. Denied. Wow. You know what? Maybe it's just not meant to be. Maybe I can't believe that happened. I cannot believe that happened. Well, we're back again. We're back again. All right, I guess you can finish your thoughts, Scrawny. You can finish the origin story of you getting into commentary and what it was like after things started to, I guess, become a bit more real, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. So it's video emerges, right? It gets incredibly blown out of proportion, and then right away I get to start talking with Nerd Street Gamers. Nerd Street Gamers is the tournament organizer for Fragadelphia, which is this kind of still grassroots movement of the LAN scene on Eastern North America. They took a chance on me. They had me take a bus down to Philly for Fragadelphia 8, which was my first LAN event. I think it was 2 weeks after that first video ever emerged. So thanks to them first and foremost, right? Because that's what really got me rolling everywhere else. And then it's just organically grown. It's been 14 months since all of that happened. I'm blessed to be working with ESCA for their Premier Division. So again, semi-professional CS, the kind of the up-and-comers and whatnot, and then just a couple of weeks ago in Leicester for the Mountain Dew League finals. Like that's now my focus point, because I think that's a great event. I think we get to see great things come of it, right? Penta ends up winning that not long ago, takes the victory over Godsent and Big, which was this big turn of events, and then now they get to emerge into the EPL. Kind of like the development league, right? Like what we had the pleasure of casting for the Community Caster Challenge. It's just a great chance to see that one step lower in CS, and then you see like how the results then impact the professional scene. Ghost Gaming in this case for North America, clear indicator that they obviously still struggle within the league, but at least they're getting that experience, they're getting that exposure, and that's what matters most.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the point I want to touch on in a sense. insofar as commentary goes, like, what do you guys feel as though has been some of the biggest difficulties, or the most interesting challenges for proving yourselves in the journey of commentary? Because when I was starting commentary, I was surprised with just the level of stuff going on. Like, there's so much depth, there's so many ways to take it, so many skill sets to try to hone and harness.
The grind.
Dealing with the grind.
The constant grind. Like, I love the grind, don't get me wrong. There's nothing like 12-hour days when you're in a room, you're doing like qualifiers or stuff like that. But you kind of you have to be persistent. You have to just keep the grind going. Even if you take your pedal off for a week, that's a week where someone else might be able to just squeak over you. And it's not like it's a ranking system. It's more of just keeping your name there, keeping it relevant, and just continuing to improve upon yourself. So the grind gets tiring, but if you love casting and if you truly are invested into it, the grind will pay off, and you'll eventually grind somewhere. So.
I'd take that in the opposite direction. I think one thing that actually surprises me more about getting into casting and kind of becoming self-reflective as a caster is that there's a lot more off-camera and off-microphone time, and a lot more elements there that your regular viewer won't recognize, right? Like the most crucial component of improving as a caster is to rewatch yourself. And it is the most painful thing to do, because you hear yourself speaking and it's just like, oh, why did I say this? This was wrong, that was wrong. And then even when it becomes, at that level, it's no longer content of what you're saying, but how you're saying things, proper inflection in your voice and whatnot, pronunciation of words, choice of words. There's so many of these little things that until you start studying them, you don't really appreciate, right? I think it's unarguable that the top tier Counter-Strike casters are fantastic at what they do. And anybody can see that. But once you start trying to study it as a craft, per se, it's only then that you realize just how damn difficult your job is.
And listening back to yourself never gets easier. It
No.
always sucks.
Well,
it
that's
just
good
sucks
to know.
forever. So just want to make sure you got it. It doesn't get better. Does not get better. But it is interesting to see the wealth of talent that's coming up now, because we have a lot of talented individuals. So very curious to see how it's going with that. And as far as the CCC, the Community Caster Challenge went, like, did you guys expect to make it far there, or how was your expectation jumping into that?
I kept it as low as possible. I just looked at it as just, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna sit down and cast something I love and enjoy. So even if I don't get anything out of this, I can still review myself, get games, get more exposure, just do it for the love of it. And then it kind of just changed into something more. So I kept the bar as low as possible, but obviously I didn't want to get too invested into it too heavily early. But
I mean, you bring up the depth of this kind of merging talent pool, and you're absolutely right. So I would say that while I had hoped to have been chosen, I would not have been surprised had I not been. There are other platforms for me, right? I get to cast elsewhere. And so if there was a lot of talented people out there that I think could have taken my place and gotten an opportunity like this, and I would have been completely fine with it, because they did put in a lot of work. And there's a lot of other good guys who maybe didn't get their name put in lights for a moment like I did. So it's there, but I'm glad I'm here as well. Like, I don't want to sound ungrateful.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you guys have some other things going on the side, or are you trying to just go fully ham on the casting at the moment? Because obviously one thing with casting as well is that an inevitable thing is that you don't get to play as much as you like as well. So that's a downside to it. But are you guys doing other stuff like studying on the side, or what's going on at the moment in your personal lives, work-wise or study-wise?
I am pretty much at the moment fully committed to casting Counter-Strike as a whole. Do work in the morning, Counter-Strike at night. Well, actually Counter-Strike all day. So I cast early. I cast early in the morning, like Serbian games, those kind of games for EFrag, and then it kind of transitions to, okay, what can I do in the afternoon? So I'm kind of looking for a part-time job right now just to supplement the difference. But I want to give it a go, because if you have to commit almost to get somewhere.
Eyes in the
first half of Nuke, where we kind of saw them, you know, put up a fight and make Astralis work for that lopsided T-half. It was very much coming off of the back of Oscar's opping. And we even saw Chris J pick it up for the dual ops every once in a while, right? So that's not going to be something they have to work with. But at least there's no op on device just yet for them to worry about either. It's just going to be rifles once they do decide to buy.
Yeah, I imagine it'd be rifles utility. They will have a fair bit on a couple players. It looks like they'll be good to go. So it is just going to be rifles. We'll look for Mousesports. The last time they had rifles, they settle into a default and kind of transition to a quicker play due to getting the openers. We'll see if Astralis are going to be a little willing to take these duels, as they've seemingly loved to take aim duels so far against Mousesports. As we are just going to jump it around. Number 6, Device, going to go peek towards connector. Here he's going to get the early volley towards top box. He's just sit behind it as Dennis is allowed to sneak his way out, though. So it is looking like the exact same default. 2 mid, 1 holding the B push / underpass, and 2 towards A. So nothing too crazy for Mousesports here.
Smoke grenades being expended towards the windowsill. The same can be said for the CTs as they respond with nades of their own, but it's Dupree who's boosted up. He's trying to find a player who's coming out from either underpass or lower connector, just hoping that this off angle can catch them by surprise, and that's going to be a matter of positioning, right? If terrorists just stick themselves to the bottom of the ledge, then they'll be fine, but it's Rops who just pops the head of Glaive on the peak from Palace. So the A site suddenly contested, and Astralis rotating over, but ooh, the bomb is going B. So it's going to be up to Dupree to rotate back and try and hold it for as long as he can. He's already found Chris J, but he's toppled as Dennis takes the trade, and that site will fall 3v4.
Yeah, Dupree wanted to get that flash off and go for the re-peek. He'll drop before he had a chance to balloon. Dennis is going to work his way into door, clean up Zipex towards Market. And now it's kind of a lot to ask from Astralis. You have 2 players up. One is half health, 53, a molly and a flash. Kirby has a smoke of his own. Now, if they don't get an opener soon, I think that's going to be it. Device is already tucked tail and run, so it's all in Kirby to kind of deal damage here. He does have a smoke in a kit, so don't count him out, as he will find Dennis. He's looking for some more, but Mousesports not going to give him anything. They are just going to wait him out, as they knew they had Rops on this amazing flank to just shut down the save.
So Device, the only weapon still standing here for Astralis, and he's going to be able to tuck tail with that one. Cashflow's still sitting fine and dandy, but Mousesports already with that second round on the board are looking good. They keep their 3 players alive. That's a very, very cost-effective round for them. And it all comes off of the back of Rops at least getting that entry at the A site, right? We see the rotation from Astralis, and it's within that small window of opportunity, once Dupree has been dealt with, that they just overwhelm the B site. Dennis gets aggressive through Market and catches one with his back turned as well. So just all of those duels really going the way of Mousesports and giving them that 4-2 to work with.
UMP in play on Astralis. Well, they will get a nade out towards top mid early, won't do too much. The op is out on Device, though, as Kirby's going to get himself in towards connector as well. Thinking about challenging this player towards connectors, he is just going to poke and prod forward. Chris J coming from underpass will smoke off top connector. And the question is, does Kirby push through this? He's thinking about it with a flash, and he is going to go. As he is just going to play on the edge. There's a gap in that smoke, and I think he's spotting Chris J's. Zipex towards the ladder room will shut down the catwalk pressure. That's Dennis down. Now Astralis with a man advantage. Yes, Mousesports still have mid-control, but being a man down and running out of utility, it's slowly ticking away from them.
Yeah, Chris J's creeping towards the A site, though. They need to remove this man off of the ticket booth, because now they can push CT, so that's going to secure the plant as long as KRB doesn't take a duel before they get there. And Chris J, he's got to weigh his options. If he decides to peek wide, it could cost him. He's low on HP. It would give the man advantage away to Astralis, but instead both players are just going to keep themselves tucked away and wait for reinforcements to arrive. Pop flash goes high. Chris J still standing, and the Molotov buys some time here, but it's going to be a heavy mid retake from Astralis once they get this rolling. Lowell inside of the corner, though, removed first and foremost as Oscar trades it back. It's Kierby from CT with 2, and just down to Rops. 1 versus 3 as he finds the first. That's Device removed. The Molotov rains up and over, but the Molotov comes back, and that's going to keep him at bay, as now the defuse is trying to be stuck here. They retap it again. A flash once more, and Rops peeks, drops them both, and Mousesports win the round.
What a play from Rops as his teammates get picked apart in the site. Astralis, it was looking like a clean retake, and then they kind of jumble around with who wants to jump on the bomb and defuse, right? They're kind of seeing who had the kit, so Kirby ends up jumping on it once they figure it out. They line up for Rops. Last second, gets both frags, and he'll keep Mousesports afloat for now, 4-3. And more importantly, they'll send Astralis down to like the economic kind of troubles right now.
Dennis looking to tear flesh from bone with that MAC-10 and unarmored opponents in front, but he gets hit a little to 83 as he tries to engage from afar. And now he's actually heavily lit, so he's got to be careful that he doesn't go down here. It's going to be Lowell to reinforce this peak, but ZipX to trade it back. So with pistols and so little to play off of, this is all Astralis should get.
Debris gonna push top connector. He's gonna play on the edge of the smoke. We say this is all Astralis should get, but Debris gonna have something to say about it. We'll miss some deagle shots, gonna fall back while Glaive from stairs. As USP gets one out on Lowell. Trying to re-peek, but they should hold this angle, but they give room for Debris to work with, and all of a sudden it falls apart for Mousesports as the pistols of Astralis start to rip them apart. And again, it's all on Rops. 1v3 again as well.
No clue where they could be at this point. The bomb down within their positions. A tragedy of a round here for Mousesports. They try to play the anti-eco towards middle, and it's within connector that they get caught up, so Rops has to dig them out. He's going to get spotted, and down he goes. I want everybody watching to go to Yanko's YouTube page and watch his video about how to play anti-ecos on Mirage, because you need to avoid middle. A lot of people will think you go mid and try to play that range advantage off of the rifles, because sure, it's only pistols. But from mid, where do you go? You go connector or catwalk. And both of those two positions, prime spots for pistols to blast you away, and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, you're allowed to take top mid control, but it gets really spooky when you push down into those close range angles. And then that Astralis, especially all the teams to do this against, Astralis is one you just don't want to fall into that trap. So it was looking good, Rops with a huge clutch, and all of a sudden it just falls apart to the pistols. Mousesports will have little to no to work with, no utility, couple upgraded pistols, and ZipX is already going to start to make you pay for it through the smoke.
It's crazy that one round just now costs them 2, right?
Yeah.
Such an avoidable situation, such an easy mistake to make, though. You just assume, of course, that your opponents are fighting on wobbly legs, and Astralis come out kicking. With another headshot, Glaive removes the threat from A. That was going to be the anchor here for Mousesports as they try to split from mid. Now Dupree gets aggressive as well from catwalk as he takes another. DEIXE finds one, and Dupree will take the last. So Mousesports just swept under the rug this time round. Astralis don't even lose a single player.
I don't think we've seen an op-out yet from Oscar, have we?
Nope, not yet.
So it is in play now. It actually gets bought up by Rops. So it gets tossed over to him. So the op is out from Oscar. This may be a game changer, but I think it is just going to alleviate some pressure of the Mousesports default, just give more room for Oscar to work with. See if he can find a pick somewhere. But on the flip side of the coin, DEIXE has his op out as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. As Astralis are going to have full trust in the mid-window player. As ZipX is going to push forward. That's the opener onto Dennis. Now, Mousesports can't fall into false hope here and false protections, thinking if ZipX is top mid, B should be relatively easy. There is still one player looming around towards B. And Astralis switch up their position. A good trade from Rops, though, to bring it back. But immediately, DEIXE's position default gets one. But look at Lowell. He comes out of Palace. Hectic round, turned man advantage for Mousesports.
Yeah, the bomb's already starting to shift its attention over as well. And Zipnix and Kierby will be presented with either a 2v3 retake, or they could even go for the save. They're going to get closer to the site before the bomb arrives, though, and smoke grenades block them off. Molotov to force any man from behind the boxes, but the plant's going to be on the opposite side. This is where Kierby gets aggressive, though, and he drops that bomb, follows suit with fire of his own, and that's going to burn it off. So suddenly the CTs have the control of the round. The bomb is down in front of them. They know that there's presence here from Mousesports. The real question will remain, how does Oscar bail his team out of this position? He needs to find a pick. And it's in this moment that Kierby will find him. Scoped in, he takes 2. Astralis fighting that one back in the 2 versus 3. Great stuff there for the retake.
Yeah, as soon as I dropped that bomb, Astralis had no reasons to aggress any further in the site or take any more aim duels. They can just sit and wait, give time for Kierby to work around towards CT, find the last 2, pop the heads like melons, and now they're up 7-3. As Mousesports are back down to pistols, Rops will get armor out with his deagle, but other than that, no utility. Nothing to work for. We're on round 11, and Astralis are about to put up number 8. So it's looking, CT side now, Mirage is looking extremely comfortable for Astralis. They're not feeling pressured. They're using their utility well. And more importantly, they're making smart mid-round decisions where, like the previous one, where they have bomb, sit and wait. No reason to really make a move.
I mean, that's the thing with Astralis. That's arguably why they're the best team in the world, is their ability to not make mistakes is generally quite high. But you can't stop Lowell from doing something like that. He just destroys Kierby off of the peak from the DEIGE. DEIXE, however, peeks back with an even bigger weapon. His op finds 3. And Dennis rounds the smoke up close and personal. He will fall. Dennis with a bit of wiggle room here and an op to play off of. 2 targets tagged, and had he hit that shot, things would have gotten interesting. Astralis still convert the point, though, to that 5-point lead.
Convert it, retrieve the op to just save that much more. As DEIXE just does DEIXE things really against these pistols. Doesn't even give them a chance to get close. DEIXE just locks it down. Nothing else Mousesports can really do there. Like, just hope and pray you hit a 1 DEIGE. That's pretty much all you got, especially when you have no utility in that situation. It is just not much you can do against an op. As Astralis is going to go out towards typical spots. DEIXE back towards mid-window, of course, with his own op. And he's found a gap in this top mid smoke for Mousesports. I wonder how many times there's been a gap in there for Mousesports when they throw that top mid smoke.
Ooh, Zipix is going to get aggressive towards B, so this is one of those dynamic B plays we were talking about, right? He's already got full control. Use the Molotov to ensure that Mousesports can't push close. Use the smoke grenade to block off anybody who's just playing from underpass stairs. And then you assume position, which not only gives you a lot of map control, but also gives you so much information. DEIXE has to know there's players towards the bottom of mid, but he doesn't expect Dennis to be over the top of the smoke, and it's there that he finds the opening headshot. Debris gonna swing it back with one of his own, and it's Rops to fall next here as Kierby takes the frag, and a man advantage for Astralis. But it's evened out, thanks to Lowell. Again from Zip next, trade and trade and trade, going back every which way.
Very back and forth. Astralis will come out with man advantage. Kierby's living on 4, but it is a body and a weapon in the hands of someone to deal some damage. As Chris J is going to be towards top connectors, teammate going to be challenging mid-window. Glaive goes down. They still have to fight for bomb control. That is down as Zipex is just content to sit behind these bricks and allow his player to peek. Kierby gets flicked on, although he did only have 4 HP. 1 bullet will get it done. Good kill from coming in from Lowell, as that's 3 for him. And Zipex has a tall order to defend this bomb, but with 20 seconds, pretty much have to get this bomb now and commit to a site. Oh, wow.
He's too good.
Yeah, that's it.
Zipex finds the first in this 1v2. Second man's going to just come barreling through the smoke, though, and Zipex, with a slight delay, will still blast him away. So, great clutch from Zipex. Proves his worth, locks down Catwalk, plays the bomb superbly, and it all comes off of the back of that kill through the smoke, right? So, great stuff from him, and still Astralis stick in the lead with Mousesports back towards some pistols, but they're going to buy. So the money, not looking all too great. They're going to have to bottom out the bank.
That leaves Chris Chan at Tech 9, the man who really was firing on all cylinders on Nuke. I felt like his entries were there, even with pistols, his AK trade frags were there, and rarely, his op and rifle were all firing when he needed them to be. That's really what ultimately pushed him on Nuke. Now they're sending him down to a pistol here while they'll have 4 AKs out. DEIXE throws a one-way. Actually, that was from his teammate. Bloomed a little too high to look towards underpass. As Mousesports look to pressure top mid late, they leave the bomb towards B. So pretty much safe play here for Mousesports, knowing they don't have A5 rifles, B no op, barely any utility really work.
Still more smoke expenditure from both teams here on mid. It's Dupree who's most aggressive and Zipex anchoring the B site, but there's nobody there whatsoever. Mousesports very poised and prepared to go for this A site split. They've got the 2 players coming in from underpass, 2 to the top of mid. They could go for a boost if they want to try and take the A site with that 3rd man splitting off jungle, but it looks instead like they're just going to stay stagnant for the time being. Hope that Astralis go for some kind of a peek.
That's the idea. DEIXE has to get out a window room. He'll do so safely. He'll fall back to CT, Kierby, molly towards A ramp, and then put his focus towards connector, where he spots 2 players. A flash, and he's just going to try to get to safety. Finds Chris J full blind, while Glaive will worry about A ramp. Now it is falling apart here for Mousesports, as they have to try to find an entry, but DEIXE towards CT. That's going to be the round. That's the round-winning play right there. Zipex will find the last. Mousesports can't get anything going from their executions that we haven't seen many of, to be fair. We haven't seen too many executions. But the default, the top mid play, is just getting shut down right now. Astralis, even if they're trading 1 for 1, they're coming out on top, which is critical as a CT.
This buy, again, going to be a little lackluster here. We're going to see some nades in play, but also 2 Tech 9s, Oscar and Lowell. swap to the sidearms as KRB gets aggressive towards the top of mid. Dupree by his side here, so they're going to take this portion of the map with ease. Rops, the only man removed, but this forces Mousesports into their execution. They're going to have to play off of this, and Glaive's already dinked one down. That's the second rifle removed, and number 3 low. But Lowell himself picks up an M4 after a triple Tech 9 play. That was impressive.
Jeez, catches 2 players sleeping towards stairs, and the third jumping in towards jungle. So that leaves Mousesports with a man advantage around 14. Well, backtracks. Still without a scratch on him. He's going to play towards Tetris. As the bomb starts to tick away, DEIXE has a smoke. They both have kits. He's going to try to bait someone out with the smoke. Well, just going to sit and wait. He will get shut down from DEIXE as his teammate Zipex knows there's a player connector, and now they know there's a player A ramp. Shut down from Chris J as the bomb is ticked so far away. It is just almost out of question. As DEIXE is going to stick this, gets a flash, finds Oscar, but cleans it up in the end as Oscar will die to the bomb, but more importantly, Mousesports get 15. But losing all members leaves them in kind of this awkward limbo state, as just like this from Lowell. Catches him jumping.
Yeah, 2 players lined up, and the third man unable to defend himself. So Lowell just getting aggressive through the smoke, catches Astralis with their pants down, and that ultimately puts a round on the board. You think coming into that with the 3 AKs bought that it was going to be one of those players who had to step up, but I guess the mobility of that Tech 9 allows Lowell to take the unsuspected duel. When you get a 3K, the bomb plant to follow suit, that's the kind of round you need. Glaive, however, with a response already as he takes the head of Chris, and KRB gets aggressive towards Palace. So this is going to be able to keep him up here. DEIXE, though, removed from the edge of the smoke. Rops with 2, as he also finds Dupree. But here comes KRB.
Yeah, Mousesports get tunnel visioned. They kill 2 players, and I think that's all from A. They neglect Palace and gives KRB an opening. He's only able to get 2 kills, or 1 kill there, excuse me, though. So it could have paid off a bit more. Instead, it leaves it all in Zipex in a 1v3. Last round, and Rops shuts it down. So Mousesports do turn it around near the end, where it started to get shady, like halfway through the first half. Astralis strung a bunch of rounds together. It was looking really dominant. Mousesports will clean up in the end. As we didn't see too many executions. It was a lot of defaults. It was a lot of let's get in the site, then smoke. It wasn't a lot of preemptive kind of set up and go for the smokes, as Mousesports were content to just take these kind of duels.
Yeah, which ultimately didn't end up working, right? And there's that 10-3 on the scoreboard looking like Mousesports might just walk away with only 3 rounds until they just get aggressive on A, right?
Yeah.
That's all that ends up working out for them, is that sheer aggression out, the Tech 9 on the 3K from Lowell, and then even in the last round, Glaive finds 1, but then he gets overwhelmed. So nicely done by Mousesports to put enough rounds on the board to play off of, but they've certainly got an uphill battle ahead of them. You could argue that it was the exact same case on Nuke after the first half, though, so we can't get ahead of ourselves. It seems like Astralis want to execute towards A. They've already got players pushing in here. Mousesports with 2 on CT spawn, now reimbursed with another man. There's so many players coming in from this angle, and it's Rops to get dinked first and foremost. But Astralis, as they take 2, lose 1 to Dennis here as he's trying to close the distance to the site. Lowell from behind enemy lines shoots 1 round down range, and Zipex is going to deal with that quickly. So Dennis, Chris in a 2v4, how much more can they do?
They have a kit, and immediately Zipex is going to shut him down, so pretty much flawless from Astralis. Huge 3K from Zipex. Just critical frags to keep the site on lock, 11-5. And now you have to think, does Mousesports go for the full save here to make sure their first rifle buy is as strong as possible? And it looks like the answer is going to be no. They are going to invest into pistols and some armor behind it. There will be 1,400 left over on Chris J, while Oscar would just buy P250. So we could see them saving for a double op early in the first rifle round. Still undetermined, as Astralis will go for the 5 UMPs.
Yeah, we'll see what they do here. They are going to take mid control with 3 players, but they've also got the bomb already heading out towards apartments. It's gone down towards underpass, and it looks like they might try to split the sites, but we saw this mistake made in the first half when it cost Mousesports around, when Astralis were able to win just off of pistols. So this time they don't go catwalk, or rather they don't get contested there. They get up to the site itself, and that's where KRB takes the first, the second now removed, make that 4 as Mousesports bodies hit the floor.
It's a good song.
True.
Just throwing that out there. Really good song. As Dennis is in a 1v5, sees that in hand. He's going to do his best to silence someone from Astralis and get a UMP and get out of here. He'd love to keep the armor, though, in the CZ, so he is worth $1,500. More alive than dead. I was going to say dead or alive, but definitely $1,500 if he stays alive, not dead. But it looks like Astralis is going to hunt him. He will win the first duel, has to reload, and now he's going to get pinched. As Zippex is coming from front, behind him comes Glaive. Somehow Dennis gets 2 there in that situation. So, you know, could be definitely worse where he only gets 1 frag and gets immediately just dunked on. So getting 1 there, getting 2 there is, you know, didn't quite get led to the slaughter.
No, he goes down with a fight, most notably there. I mean, Astralis go for that 5 UMP buy as well, right? And I think that's in order to ensure that Mousesports can't walk away with a rifle.
Yeah.
Even if you have a couple AKs in the mix, if one of those are lost over, then suddenly those Mousesports lives become so much more valuable. And also dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, Glaive to the top of mid's going to get dinked to 16, and he's got players closing the distance here as Mouse find 2 off the pistols. But Astralis, meanwhile, taking the A site, and DEIXE also dinked, sits on 17. Make that 1. Everybody else for Mousesports fully health besides Oscar. The AK in the hands of Dennis to play off of. All 4 players towards mid, though. They've lost the site, and they know it. Let's get that AK into the next round and just forfeit this one to Astralis.
Yeah, it looks like the play. I think they're just basically going to put Dennis as far back on the B side as they can and kind of set the pistols up as the pawns, the sacrifice to allow that AK to get carried over, knowing they can't get much else. As Chris he needs to land 1 bullet on DEIXE. I think DEIXE is out of there as a player in CT. Zippex will take a willing duel. Actually, that was Kirby, excuse me, towards Connector. But it looks like Mousesports will be content to get the AK out of here. As Rops hits a ringer onto Kirby, he's going to make the run for this gun. Can he find it last second? No, I think the explosion from the bomb kind of messed with where that gun landed. So 13-5, Astralis will buy up into this. We'll see how many more rifles they want to get, as it is a double op. So they were saving for that in the first rifle round.
And we've got the double op set up on the players who have 6 frags and 3 frags, respectively.
Yeah.
This is their chance to shine. You've got your full investment. You have what should be their comfortable territory to play off of. You had a rough first half, but now's your chance to turn it on its head. And it's not just going to be 1 round they need here. Astralis are going to have to lose a couple in a row if Mousesports want to walk away with some easy anti-ecos. Oscar already posted up on the angle, though. He's going to feel the pressure coming in. The T side with 4 players have their sights set on B. Oscar going to have to give it up, though, as Lowell comes over.
Oscar just going to be holding first window. But he also has to worry about Catwalk because Mousesports have no one towards mid, no one applying pressure, no one spotting that. They have 1 player shoulder peeking from triple, but in certain situations like this, it's almost not enough, especially when you spot that player getting to ladder room. You have to be a little self-conscious of really what's going on around you. As Astralis are just going to fall off that B pressure early, leave Dupree towards underpass. They have a player in window room, so their options are still there for Astralis, as they know they have mid control. And we'll see what they want to transition it into. We could see a window boost, as that player in ladder room can keep spotting and let them know no one's there. So Astralis are most certainly in the driving seat. It just comes down to Mousesports catching them off the double op and how the rotations will pan out.
Yeah, we've got Rops pushed up very aggressively towards A ramp as well here. So the player from Palace isn't going to be able to deal with him. That's going to be a responsibility of the guys from Connector. Dennis as well, just tucked away on the site, and time's going to become an issue at this point. Mousesports just need to hold on, and they've got some grenades to do so with, but it's Zippex from the Palace to take the first, and Chris misses. Rops finds 1, but Dupree responds with a kill of his own, and ooh, the bomb near doesn't go down. Zippex is able to cover it, Oscar's left alone, and that's a round for Astralis on the board.
Yeah, Oscar's going to try to stay alive. I think Astralis will be content to send a couple rifles hunting for him, especially considering how many rounds they had the UMPs in. They can really afford to throw a couple of these rifles Oscar's way and see if they can take it down. It's almost mission critical. If Oscar gets this carried in, it gives a little bit of chance as Glaive's UMPs, because UMP will find the last. So Astralis get to 14, Mousesports stumped on 5. As Dennis will have money, Oscar will have 3K. Other than that, this is pretty much a round where they concede 15 to Astralis? I mean, you're down so many rounds. I think you have to force, yeah.
Sure, go for it. I mean, the UMP, right, is still very relevant.
Still, yeah.
They still have full grenades off of this. I'd like to see them maybe try to get a little bit of aggression going on. Try to take that opening pick as opposed to just waiting for it, right? That's what we see in the last round with players on the A site just kind of tucked away and waiting for that last-minute fight, which they end up losing on all fronts. So it's in their hands this time around to try and make something happen. It's going to be Rops to take an aggressive position outside of Palace as opposed to ramp. We see Chris J as well trying to play over towards ladder and then shuffling back from Cat. So it was there, but they didn't find anything because Astralis also just sat back very patiently, and now that the smokes have faded, they put the Opera up front to try and find a man, try to pluck a player off catwalk, but it's Dupree onto Oscar to open things up, and that's over on the A site.
That's an opener now, puts a lot of pressure on Dennis too. As he pushes into connector, as he shuffle back towards jungle. Looks like a molly towards Palace, and the jungle play it is. As they come steaming through the smoke, Dennis gets the first, Robs towards top Palace. Is going to clean up Dupree. As the kills start to shuffle back and forth through the smoke, they'll go. Dennis is through, but Glaive is so sharp on the aim. As all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, it's all Lowell in a 1v3. Astralis, just their raw firepower is on display right now.
Yeah, they're not respecting their opponent at this point. They're just going for pure aim duels, and they're doing it as a 5-man unit. We haven't seen any, real fakes. We haven't seen too much of pump backs from opposite bomb sites. It's just been once they've set their eyes on something, they've gone for it, and they've taken it consecutively over and over. And that's great to see, right? This is the Astralis one would have expected in these two best of ones. And while Mousesports very valiantly got that first upset on Nuke, this is more in line with, I would say, the general prediction.
Thought you were going to say reality there. I might have agreed as well.
That too.
It's a shame. Although the Nuke game was exciting, it's still a big W for Mousesports in the current position they're in, so they can take that away. As Astralis, look at this buy. AKs, Ops. Mousesports go with 3 M4s, or 3 FAMASas, an M4 and a UMP, so it's very mixed. Dennis, the lone M4 Ranger, is going to push top mid, find device to open it up, but Mousesports have to find a couple more clean frags. They can't really put themselves in an ideal spot to trade, and there you go. Those are the clean frags. Chris J gets 2. All of a sudden, Dupree and Zipex last remaining, and it is all in Dupree. He has to ace to win it. And at least he'll have the B site, but doesn't have bomb. Time is on his side, but other than that, the numbers, the bomb, everything's going against him.
Again, aggression from Dennis this time around is what gets them that opening 5 versus 4, and then of course Chris J kind of just scuttles that the offense as it tries to make its way past. So 2 big individual plays, most notably off of the back of aggression. But Dupree now removes the man from market, and he could decide to just tuck tail and head towards A. All 3 players from Mousesports are coming in from apartments. Little does he know. Looks like he wants to wait around for at least another frag here. Could always sell the rotation as well, but timing is a finicky thing. Chris J rounds the corner just as he looks away, and that costs him his life and costs Astralis a round.
Yeah, the thing Mousesports needed to do in that situation is the weaponry they had and the lack of utility they had kind of contributed to the need for clean kills without it getting traded. Astralis start to trade, then you go down this dark rabbit hole where you can't go toe-to-toe almost. You don't have the utility, you don't have the expendables to go back and forth like that. As Astralis will still have a big enough bank to get AKs on the board, while Mousesports will get the double op. We've seen this fall apart before, but it is just going to be a full-blown A execution, so if this op doesn't get the opener, they can be smoked off, and it's a lot to ask for a retake.
You see Rops just ensuring no one pushes. Bit of sporadic gunfire here as the double op setup for Mousesports puts itself in position. Rops again just tucking his way into a corner aggressively towards the A site, but this is where Astralis decide to go for the smoke execute. And it's a full one at that. They've already made their way towards Tetris, and Rops is going to have to lock down Palace as reinforcements arrive. He instead gets aggressive and drops the bomb. Still no peek from Palace here, and it's Dennis through the smoke to find the next. Rops finally removed as Astralis take 2, and we're back into a 3v3. But the bomb's out in the open, and there's still so much time on the clock.
Double op retake. Bomb is still not planted, right? It is just kind of sitting there on a vacation on its own little island, and Chris J, he's going to be the security to this island as he'll get one immediately traded from device. Low and Oscar just going to sit and wait. They know they have time. They can wait out this bomb plant. Astralis want to find a 1v1. Device will get it, but it won't go his way as Dupree is put in a 1v2. Has to get bomb. 33 seconds. Down to 22 HP. This is almost a suicide mission if he faces here. Oscar and Lowell not going to give him a chance to really get out of the balcony.
Just going to wait, though. And this is where mistakes can be made. It's at this point that someone from Mousesports might give up a 1v1. That's where Lowell rounds the corner. Luckily, Oscar's posted up on the angle, and he's going to take that last frag. So Mousesports not going down without a fight here and forcing Astralis into some awkward economic waters. It's not going to be a full buy for everyone included. So rocky here for Astralis. Still so many rounds left to play out, though. The comeback would be unreal for Mousesports. But it is a full buy for them. And it's 2 Tech 9s on Astralis' side. We saw this work for Mousesports. Maybe it goes the other way.
Oh yeah, it came down to a 3K from Lowell. I mean, anything is possible when it comes down to pistols. UMP and QRB, no utility. Oscar's going to get their early rotation in jungle. Well, the smokes can come raining down. Excuse me. The question is, do they push through them? No, they're going to get pushed themselves. DEIXE through the mollies. He's kind of just run a train here. So he's going to get a third. DEIXE has not stopped moving. 2 with the Tech 9, 1 with the Op. And that may just be what Astralis need to lock this out as Rops. Smokes, shots, everything not going his way. And it's all on Chris J. 1v4. Astralis, thanks to DEIXE, has really just pushed this round to the brink.
There you got it. The force buy from Astralis manages to work things out, and it puts the 16th round on the board. So Astralis, bouncing back after the loss on Nuke, will at least walk away with 1 win today.
Clutch by Rops.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
I love the devices before it's right at the end there. Just taking no nonsense. I'm just going to move forwards and kill everyone, pick up this orb, and continue to kill everyone. And that's what happens. And Astralis having a good start on that CT side, and that's kind of the danger, I think, when you play Astralis. If they are ever in a position where they are able to get that economy rolling in straight away on the CT side, string some rounds together, and then you start to see those fundamentals come into play. You start to see the drills come into play, and it's an advantage that they have over a lot of teams, because we've had a lot of lineups in flux recently, and Astralis seem to be one of the better lineups at delivering online as well, of even the routines lineups, the ones that are stable. And here we can see, obviously, great performances also from Kirby, who I did not yet mention, and Zipex is stable as ever. And yeah, Mousesports not really able to be afforded the opportunity to get into this one as they perhaps would have liked to. So we didn't really get to see much of their second half, really, which is unfortunate. But that's how it goes. That's how it goes. A great equalizer. I guess I expected things to be a 2-0 for Astralis. I didn't expect that crazy overtime. I don't know. Did series go the way you guys expected it?
If it was going to be a split 1-1, I didn't expect it to be on the maps that it occurred on, right?
Yeah.
I thought, if anything, Astralis